Part 2, here we go. I have a football and I'm going to draw it and I'm going to kick it at 45 degrees and it's going to have an initial velocity, so give a velocity vector there and I'll call it v sub o is 15.0 meters per second, and it's going to follow the parabolic path. So you can sketch it in. And the question is, find the maximum height. Alright, right now you're in projectile objects that are launched training, projectile training, so you're going to pretty much just follow along with me. Find the maximum height. So we're interested, whenever we're asked to find the maximum height, we're going to cut the problem in half because we don't care about what happens after it. So make a note that we're going to end the problem right here when we are asked that question. So the problem ends there. I'm going to drag out my 5 values, v sub o, a, x, and t, from the past, the blast from the past. And I'm going to ask myself, do I know, which ones of these do I know, which ones do I not know? So, I'm going to start with velocity final. Because remember when I didn't write the little sub-zero here, I meant final. So, remember I'm ending the problem right here. Before I even answer that question, before I start the list, I want to know, am I working in x or y? Is this problem dealing with the x component or the y? Emily, too. What?
Y.
Y. All right, so first we're going to do all of these in y. So I'm going to ask you, in the tedious manner, to put a little y next to every one of these. V sub y, v sub o sub y, a sub y, x sub y, t sub y. Because it makes a difference. Every single one of these values are different in x than they are in y, except one. So think about which one that is, and we'll talk about it when we finish our list. Alright, so at the end of our problem, what is the final velocity in y? The answer is 0. Remember, at the top of the flight here, was there any y component at all? No, it had no velocity in the y direction. It had shrunk away to 0. So at maximum height, final velocity is 0. What about initial velocity in y? It looks like it's 15.0 meters per second, but that's this. How would I get the y component only? Oh, trig students.
The bag.
All right, no, not the thing. Because we know this is 15, but we don't know that. We could thag it if we knew that. So I want the blue part only. So I know the angle, and I know the hypotenuse. So what can I pull out of my trig pocket to find that? What? Not inverse tan, because inverse tan will get us an angle. We have the angle. So what? Tan? Is that what you said? Tan would involve this over this, but we don't know that. Sine. All right, so we're going to say sine of 45 equals y, opposite, over hypotenuse, which is 15. I dropped the 0.0 just for clarity. I know I'm working in 3 sig figs. Sine will always get you the y component. Cosine will always get you the x component. So when you plug in 15, then you multiply both sides by 15, sine 45. I got something. I didn't get something. Somebody plug that in. What do you get?
10.6.
10.6, is that confirmed?
Yeah.
Alright, 10.6
We're
is.
still supposed to be in degrees, right?
Yes, we are in degrees because of the 45 is in degrees. 10.6 is the y component. Alright, now I'm going down my list. Acceleration in the y direction. We've just discussed that. Always in the y direction since we're working in meters per second. It's negative 9.8. what is, when I say x, that is distance. What is the distance in the y direction? Do we know anything, did the problem tell us how far it was going? So this is the one thing we don't know. And time, oh, I'm sorry, we do, we want to find it. We don't know it, but we want to find it. So that's the one we circle, because we want the maximum height, that's a distance. And lastly, it's time that we don't know. Do you remember our three equations? Which one is it that did not have time in it?
Squall.
Right.
Very first squall.
The squall. All right, so write down the equation that we're going to use. And tedious as it may be, I want you to put in y, 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 and y. And I'm not telling you why. All right, put in the numbers as we've already established them over there. Calculate it for me. We're solving for x sub y. We're solving for the distance in the y direction. So it turned out to be called x sub y. So you got to square 10.6, move it to the other side, and divide it by 2 times negative 9.8, and end up with 3 sig figs. Got an answer? What you got? Yes.
5.73.
5.73, anyone else? All right, if you did 2 sig figs before you crossed over and 2 sig here, if you did 2 sig figs, not 2, it is 2 because of 45, or was it 45.0? No, it was 45. So if you did 2 sig figs here and here before you moved it and divided, and then did 2 sig figs at the end, you get 5.7, and we would have as well. So 5.71 or 5.73, and that is the distance. It's in meters, and that's how high it went. It's kind of amazing, not only knowing the initial velocity and the angle, you can get the height, but you can. So that's how you do that one. If you were to guess, where is it that students make the most mistakes on this? Probably everyone in here will do this at least once, even though you've been well taught. What do you
I
think?
think that you won't do the sign.
Right. Guess
You
what
just
they...
put in the initial velocity.
Almost everyone does that at least once. You might not do it today because it's fresh in your mind. Tomorrow you'll come in, instead of using the 10.6, you'll use the 15. Sorry, it's part of learning. All right, see if you can be not like the typical student. All right. And sometimes I do it. I'll get it wrong. Now, what's wrong with this? Oh yeah, I forgot. Okay. All right, let's do one more. Oops. I don't think I set my watch. I think the 5 minutes.
I was like, whoa,
The 5 minutes, sorry. All right, we're not in a
All right,
position where we
so-
can do one for homework yet, so
Should
I
I
have to teach
stop the
some
video?
more. So we're gonna end it there, and I think the bell's about to ring. Is that right? I forgot set my watch. Yep.
Okay,
All right,
bye.
we're over and out, Hunter. Bye.